Hello and welcome to another video. Today, I'm going to be talking about the problems that I have with iOS. And yes, I know I made a very similar video about a year ago. However, the biggest problem that I had in that video was just the lack of customization because when I got my iPhone 15 Pro Max at the time, they didn't roll out this huge fucking update where it allowed you to actually finally customize the home screen. And I'm super glad that they added that now, and I do appreciate it. However, there still are some issues that still bug me to this day that haven't been fixed yet, or if they have been fixed, they're fucking buried in the settings, which I'll get to as well. That's another one of my issues that I have, but probably I'll just go in order. The biggest issue that I have with iOS right now, personally, is just something that's not the worst thing in the world, but it's really tedious and really goddamn annoying and just made me fucking furious. It's portrait lock or auto lock, whatever you want to call it, just locking screen orientations. Why is it so goddamn finicky? Especially when when you're trying to lock in landscape mode. At least when the iPhone 15 Pro Max, when I rotated it a certain way, when I'm like lying in my bed, I like to just put my phone on my side, but still keep it in landscape mode so I can actually continue watching the goddamn thing. Yeah, when I was in a browser, that didn't really work, especially when I was watching like a video in full screen. That did not work at all, and it was just incredibly infuriating because, as I said, when I try to just watch something on the side and I want to keep it locked in landscape mode, it just went into portrait mode even again. And before you ask, yes, I did have it in landscape lock. I did have it in that lock orientation mode, but again, it just didn't really work for some reason. I looked up a bunch of solutions to it and nothing really worked. I just don't really understand what I was doing wrong or if that was intentional or not, but either way, it was just incredibly annoying. But also just in general, just landscape mode, like locking in general, is just kind of finicky, especially when like rotating it upside down and all that. Like it's really goddamn weird. But yeah, that was the biggest issue besides, the customization that I had with the iPhone at the time. But another huge issue is what I already mentioned before, which was everything is buried in like 5 layers deep of settings. Like it is so fucking hard to get to a uber specific setting because it is so buried. And yes, I know there's a search function, but on Android, I cannot stress how much easier it is to find anything on Android because on Android they actually, list out everything. When you look at a category, it says the subcategories below it, so you know like what you're gonna look, or not what you're gonna look for, but what you're gonna find when you click that category. Like it's just very nicely laid out, and there's also a search function that works. On iPhone, again, it is just so goddamn convoluted. There's so many menus to go through, especially when like trying to turn off like the default settings for like some of the camera stuff. Like so much stuff is just named like fucking the weirdest shit ever, that you just have to search up to in order to like just get it turned off. Like it is so annoying. Like I cannot stress how bad like navigating settings is. It is just really bad, especially in comparison with the Android is just league better in terms of the settings app. But yeah, another issue that I've personally run into with iPhone in my time of actually using it, or iOS, however you want to name it, whatever, is also for some reason they didn't have an equalizer. And I'm not sure if they do have one now, but I still don't think they have one, which bugs me to no end because, as I mentioned before, my ears are really sensitive to bass. Like, very sensitive. I have to turn the bass down in a lot of equalizers to get it at a actual normal volume for me. Even to the point where even open back headphones that are very neutral are still so goddamn bassy. They are just basically bass cannons. And I know you might say, oh, but that kind of invalidates your argument. That I don't think that really does. That just means my ears are sensitive to a specific frequency range, which everybody's ears also are. It's just unfortunate that mine are super sensitive to bass. But again, because of that, when I got my AirPods with, my iPhone, there was no actual equalizer that was just a local equalizer that worked with everything like there is on like Samsung phones. And especially now with like the Galaxy Buds 3 Pro, there now is like a fully built-in equalizer for the Buds 3 Pro in the Galaxy Wear app, which I really appreciate. I don't have the newest and the greatest, the newest Galaxy Buds 3 Pro yet. I probably will stick with the AirPods and the Buds 2 Pro, but even then, again, I really, really vastly prefer having an equalizer over not having one, again, like iOS does, at least right now. And I really hope that they at least like have some option to tune like down stuff rather than just decrease bass, decrease. No, I want like actual fine tune control. I want to actually have a full blown equalizer. I don't think it's that hard to implement. Like, just implement it for the few fucking people that actually want to use it. And actually, a decent amount of people will probably want to use it, especially when they have, like, very bassy and muddy headphones. They probably want to tune that down somewhat. And again, not having an actual full-blown equalizer for that sucks ass, because you're just kind of stuck with the sound profile you're given. And just, that's it. And again, that's like probably the third biggest reason why I switched off from my phone. It was just incredibly annoying. Even though the AirPods are not bassy, but at all. But again, to my ears they are, because I don't know, man. That's just how my ears are. So again, it just really, really sucked, because it just sounded really, really bassy. No matter what track I really put it on, it was just not great. Yes, there are like different ear tips, and that did kind of help, but even then, again, it was still a little too bassy for me. So again, it just sucks that there's no inbuilt equalizer. That's all I'm asking for. So I'm not asking for much. I'm not asking for like a fuck ton of stuff. I'm not like super nitpicky about like everything the iPhone has to offer. But again, I'm just asking for an inbuilt equalizer and just actual working portrait locking mode, or just orientation lock mode, and a fully functional settings app that actually lists out everything decently okay. I'm pretty sure that settings app has barely been changed from the beginning of iOS. I'm not even joking, because that settings app was also basically the same on my iPad, and that was like that's like 10 years old by now. That was my first, I'm pretty sure, just a bit of history, that was probably my first mobile device ever. Just a really basic iPad. I forgot the model, it's so goddamn old, but it was one of the big iPads with like huge fucking borders. I think it was probably one of the first gen, maybe second gen iPads. But again, it was just a really, really big iPad that just had really big, really thick bezels, I mean. So yeah, they really need to just focus on increasing the usability of their settings app, because it is just so bad, especially for new users. Like, I know, like, the Apple fanboys are going to say, oh, but you get used to it. Yeah, but even when you get used to it, there's probably still going to be a setting that you want to turn off that's just named something really weird, or just named something like really obscure that you're not going to be able to really find without searching it up. And that's really goddamn annoying. Having to do that like almost every time, especially if you're a new user, as I said, like, it's just really goddamn annoying. So just make the settings app a little easier to goddamn navigate. Like, that's all I'm asking. Again, not asking for much, just fix a few things, and then I'll be happy. And yeah, that is basically it, and I will see you guys later. Goodbye.